What's up, everybody? Hope everyone's having a fantastic new year. Today is New Year's Day, so I wanted to go ahead and show y'all something I haven't really shown on this channel, like from my perspective. I wanted to show y'all a little bit of a foraging trip, mainly because I want to prove that you can still find food in the woods even in wintertime. That's right, today's going to be somewhat of a proof of concept because I tell people all the time that foraging is one of those skills that you absolutely should develop if you would like to be able to find food in the area that you live. Now, one of the things a lot of people bring up is, what about in the dead of wintertime? Or what about when everything's kind of dying, there's no wild edibles? Yeah, true, you might have a lot of green plants that might be dead, but there are still things like mushrooms that are popping up at this time. Now, a little background. It has been the last week we haven't had any freezes, all right? About 3 days ago, 7 to 3 days ago, we had rain for 4 days, okay? It was this misty bullcrap rain, but it was still rain nonetheless, followed by 2 days of warming, and today's about 45. Now, we're gonna get a freeze tonight, but we haven't seen a freeze in about a week. That means that we should see some mushrooms out there because there has been a small warming period with moisture. So since that happened, I guarantee we're gonna find something. It may not be what I wanna find, but there's probably something popping, so I wanted to go ahead and look for them today. Now, it's kind of windy, so if it gets in the mic, I'm sorry I can't do anything about that, but just to show you what I bring into the woods when I do go out foraging, all I have is basically a knife brush combo. All right, so I can cut mushrooms. I got my binoculars so I can look up in trees to see if it's the mushroom that I want, because sometimes they do grow up like lion's mane, oysters, things like that. And I'm also wearing snake boots. It's been kind of warm the last couple days, so that means we're probably gonna find some form of reptiles, whether it be snakes, something is gonna be out sunbathing. So I wanna make sure if there are snakes out, I got my snake boots on, and obviously a bag of something that you carry mushrooms that I do find. Now, before you consider putting anything on the table for your family, you got to make sure you know what you're doing. So I recommend a good field guide. The Simon & Schuster's Guide to Mushrooms is a really good one. I live in the Southeast, so Mushrooms of the Southeast is also a good field guide. So is a field guide to Mushrooms of the Carolinas. Again, I live in South Carolina. And finally, Hunting Mushrooms. I love all these books. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get in the woods so I can show you, hopefully, some mushrooms or something that I can find. All right, we are on our first edible species. Right here. These are called wood ear mushrooms. I don't remember the Latin name, so I'll put it right here. But these are edible. I like to dehydrate them a little bit first, and then I'll toss them in like a stir fry or something. Maybe even a soup. But they have a very rubbery texture, but once you kind of fry them up in a stir fry, they're actually pretty good. But they definitely look like little ears, don't they? Hence the name wood ear. Well, this used to be one of my trails, and yeah, I've been back here since the hurricane, and that's no longer one of my trails, I guess. And don't let that size fool you. It's substantially bigger than you think. It's not just some little twig. That comes up to my chest. See, this is my trail down there. And some more hurricane damage. This used to be completely walkable with no problems, because that right there is one of my morel spots. And yeah, not really walkable anymore. But on the plus side, right down here, I found some. They're called a boarding entoloma, or shrimp of the woods. This is when one mushroom gets parasitized by another mushroom. So it's a boarding entoloma. And inside should be pink. And when they start going bad, they get brown. So these look still fairly fresh. So I'm gonna harvest these and eat them. All right, I got to do a voiceover on this one. The one was just too bad. But over here I found a red russula mushroom. Now, there are so many different varieties of russula mushrooms, I don't even pay attention to them all. But they are a good one to note because russula mushrooms are one of the ones that get parasitized by the lobster mushroom, or the Hypomyces lactiflorium. This is one of those mushrooms that can absolutely be turned by this new type of fungus into something almost considered a delicacy. So it pays to know where your russulas pop up, because it very well could turn into a lobster mushroom in the right conditions. Do you see him? He looks tired because it's starting to get a little colder, but he was out sunbathing too. Looks like he might have a new tail too. Oh, let's keep going. Here's another one. This is called a jelly fungus because it looks like jelly. Okay, some people like to call this amber witch's butter, but I'll put the name down below. But yeah, it's edible, it's medicinal. Doesn't taste very good, so I'm not going to grab it, but you can eat it. Alrighty, checky here. We got a couple, looks like honey mushrooms. They look older. They feel pretty old. I think if the frost got to them, they're still sitting here from when it froze, but yeah, we got some honey mushrooms. A little late on them, but if they were fresher, they are edible. That's for sure. Alrighty, this is witch's butter. And while that may look disgusting because it's a jelly fungus, it actually is edible. I don't eat it, but I know people that do or use it medicinally. But yeah, I'm not really a fan of trying that. It looks like a big old loogie, but it's edible. Now here is what I brought back with me. Got some wood here and a whole bunch of shrimp of the woods. I'm going to use some of them today, but I want to use the rest tomorrow, so I'm excited. So for an hour and 20 minute, walk around the property, that wasn't so bad, right? I also have permission to be on my neighbor's property, so it wasn't just my 5 acres. I was on his 18 as well. I didn't go through everywhere because a lot of the trees were down from the hurricane that I didn't know, so I was kind of having to jump it over, and all my trails are, like half my trails are blocked, so I got to go ahead and clean those out before everything starts to green up. But you did see that I was able to find some shrimp of the woods and some wood ears, which is really good. So I'm going to go ahead and go inside and cook those up, and I want to show you how I use them. Okay, I'm going to keep this one really simple. I took a few of the shrimp of the woods and some of the wood ears, and I just chopped them up very easily. Then I'm going to go on a saute with an onion, all right? Butter, onion, wood ear, and shrimp of the woods. We're going to cook it down with some salt. As you see why it's called shrimp of the woods, because it really looks like shrimp. I mean, look at it. And then I'm going to take some tenderloins. This is from a deer that I took about 3 weeks ago. I saved the tenderloins for the first of the year. And I got my saute right here. And I'm going to turn this into a gravy. So, boom. Amazing flavor. I definitely suggest if you find either one of these mushrooms, you go ahead and put this into a gravy. Wow. Okay, so how'd that look? It looked pretty good, right? Now, the reason why I made this video is because I wanted to prove that you can find food in the woods in the wintertime, okay? When you are hunting for things, if you are foraging, yes, a lot of the plants are going to be dead because of the cold snap. We've already had a few days in the low 20s, so it's killed most of the vegetation, but there are still things that are going to be popping if it gets warm enough, and mushrooms are the prime example. They do not take long to grow, which is why I love foraging for them, because you never know what you're going to find. You could go to one spot, wait 5 days, and there they are, okay? So they just pop up really fast, unlike a lot of shrubs and everything else that take a little while. So I highly suggest if you are on the fence about foraging, you give this year, 2025, the opportunity to learn at least 1 or 2 things. You might actually help yourself in the long run. So if you learned anything at all from this video, please do me a humongous favor and give this one a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you are not, and I will catch y'all on the next one, all right? Bye.